Let's see. Ms. Harvey.
Would you repeat the question, please?
Yes. Can the city avoid bankruptcy, and how?
I certainly hope that we'll avoid bankruptcy. And I think the way to avoid bankruptcy is, first of all, to look at bringing forward the tax measure and letting the citizens vote on that. The citizens should be able to tax themselves if they wish. I think that all of the departments in city government need to be looked at as far as cuts. I think everything needs to be on the table. I think the only way to avoid bankruptcy is...
The year 2000, I was such an advocate of this program that I volunteered to install all the equipment necessary and all the labor to put a 3-camera system in these chambers free of charge. My offer was turned down. Every year since then, I've offered this to the city that I want to be involved in bringing this project forward. To date, we have $36,000 in our account given to us by the cable company to put cameras in these chambers to televise or podcast meetings. The council refuses to bring up this issue and have the system installed in our workshops to decide what we're going to do this year. It was one of my highest priorities. The rest of the council felt that this was not important and would fall to the very bottom of our priority list, next to volunteerism. So I don't see that we're going to see videotaping these meetings anytime soon.
Thank you. Mr. Kirchmann.
I'm in favor of it. I go to many places, other countries even, and smaller cities than this. I guess they're starved for entertainment. They have water board meetings, they have certainly council meetings, planning meetings. It's worthwhile for people to be able to see what's going on in public, because not everyone can make it into, or perhaps even have the interest of coming physically and be at a meeting, but to watch it on television makes it easy, and you tend to see how things are working. So there's nothing wrong with these public meetings being televised.
Thank you. Ms. Harvey.
As far as I know, the current city council meetings are podcast, and I would support that. I don't have a problem with that. And video streaming, it would depend on the cost. I think everything would have to be looked at as far as cost and the ongoing cost of having the systems in place. But I think, we could have one instead of the other, depending on the cost. I don't necessarily think you have to have the whole gamut to provide, a place for everybody to see what's going on. It just depends on the cost.
Thank you. And you get to respond first to the next question, which is, how can a council member honestly disagree with staff and council members and continue to work efficiently with them?
I think you have to learn to compromise. I think that, you can stand your ground, but I think you need to take into consideration, what other people are saying and learn to work with other people as far as getting the business of the city done. So I think it's just a matter of listening to what other people say and not necessarily giving up your point of view, but finding a point that you can agree on, finding a place of compromise and finding a place where you can cooperate.
Thank you. Ms. Harvey.
I think the council members can disagree, and I think it's important that they disagree. It's that differing opinions that make solutions better. What needs to happen is for people to come to common ground. They're here to provide solutions, and it's the solutions that make the city move forward. So common ground needs to be found, and then solutions need to be developed around that common ground. And I absolutely believe that council people can do that, and I think they have done that in the past, and I believe that they will do that in the future.
Thank you. Mr. Barich.
Do you mind repeating the question once again?
Not at all. How can a council member honestly disagree with staff and council members and continue to work efficiently with them?
Well, first of all, it's of the utmost duty of a council member to disagree when he or she feels it's necessary to do so. That's the very essence of being a city leader and not a city follower, is to disagree and do that respectfully, courteously, and politely. It's about respect and mutual respect But to think that there's going to be a compromise in every situation in local government is absolutely a fantasy. It does not always, it's just not always possible. Gridlock is expected in a democracy. It happens. It's also what holds our nation together. But when city council members accuse other city council members of being intellectually dishonest, cutting people off in mid-sentence,
are important enough to their quality of life, and that therefore they're willing to pay for those services. So a tax measure is an option that is available for that, and I think it's up to the citizens to decide, and rightfully so.
Thank you. And you get the first take at the next question, which is, aside from raising taxes, what steps will you take to ensure that Cotati will not go bankrupt?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Certainly. Aside from raising taxes, what steps will you take to ensure that Cotati will not go bankrupt?
I think it's similar to what we said in the previous question. We really need to keep our eye on that budget. We need to look at it. We need to look at it line by line, item by item. We may need to go back and renegotiate salaries. We may need to look at options for volunteering. We may need to look at all of the above, because we're going to have to fight to keep this city here. And I believe that the people in this community want to do the right thing, and given the opportunity, they will do the right thing. So I will fight to work with the citizens to make that happen.
Thank you. Mr. Barich.
as I said earlier, volunteerism is one key to helping us through this financial situation that we're in. But I also firmly believe it's time that we take a strong look at eliminating the city's planning department. In that department alone, we have salaries over $250,000, which have to be looked at right now. Also, cutting salaries and benefits further may be necessary to avoid bankruptcy. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kirchmann.
Well, very simply, we need to do more with less. That involves cutting what is not essential for operation. It involves, whenever possible, maximizing what we do have. And we have to be comparable and competitive with our neighbors. We have other cities with the same realities, and we have to be able to match their costs and the cost of the citizens. Businesses need to be able to come to Cotati and use it as an incubator to grow their business and in part sustain us. If we simply burden oncoming businesses, they're going to go elsewhere where they're better treated. And likewise, if our services are lacking from our neighbors, people are going to move to where they're comfortable and where they're best served. So we have to be competitive and compare as best we can with the Sonoma County around us.
Thank you. Ms. Hardy.
Could you repeat the question?
Yes. See if I can tell from my notes here which it is. Aside from raising taxes, what steps will you take to ensure that Cotati will not go bankrupt?
I think that we need to start thinking about what other revenue sources we can find within our community. I think that if we're only depending on retail sales tax to balance our budget and take care of our business, that we are going to fall short. I would like to see the city of Cotati encourage sustainable businesses and think about what businesses might be needed within the next 10, 15 years. And I see those as healthcare, anything green, I think education, and whatever the city can do to find businesses that would support those would certainly benefit the city and make it more sustainable. And I also think we need